We begin with a rare and beautiful thing in global politics. Someone finally telling Donald Trump to his face that he is completely and totally full of it. At the APEC summit this week, Trump correctly identified 2 Asian countries that were in conflict, and then raised his hand again for the Nobel Peace Prize. The 2 countries in question, Thailand and Cambodia, who entered into conflict over contested temples and landmines. Now keep in mind this was back in July, but Trump wanted a ceremony now as a condition of attending the summit so he could get a photo op. Surprise, surprise. Their hostility with one another started back in 1907 when France arbitrarily delineated the 2 countries on a map, clearly knowing nothing about the 2 countries, their history, or their people. Yay, colonialism. Great work, colonial powers. The ceasefire was actually brokered by Malaysia, and the Thai Prime Minister even turned down Trump's offer to mediate between the 2 countries. I think it was wise that Thailand's Prime Minister rejected Trump's offer to mediate a peace agreement, considering he can't even mediate between Democrats and Republicans to reopen the U.S. government, which has now been closed for more than a month, with thousands upon thousands of workers furloughed and lining up for food handouts 3 blocks away from me in Washington, D.C. Trump would never really mediate between Democrats and Republicans because it's just easier to put big banners on government websites blaming the Democrats for shutting down the government over, wait for it, providing genital mutilation surgeries and healthcare for illegal aliens. Yes, it actually says this on the USDA website. I don't remember in my entire life government websites being so overtly partisan, and it's frankly shameful. It's also really important the way that we pay attention to language. What differentiates an illegal alien from an expat? But back to the Asian countries that Trump wouldn't be able to find on a map. Trump, of course, wanted the photo op to take a picture with his supposed peace deal, as usual. But for once, Trump wasn't surrounded by his usual sycophants who confirm his every delusion, whether it's about immigrants eating household pets or Tylenol causing autism. Because across the table from him sat Chinese President Xi Jin Ping, who is not exactly known for his sense of humor, more like crushing protests in 1989 in Tiananmen Square and then prohibiting everybody from talking about it ever since. And he essentially said to Trump's face, "You're full of it." Not directly, of course. He's far too diplomatic for that. He said something like, "You witnessed the signing of the Joint Declaration on Peace and you provided your support," which is Mandarin for, you held up a piece of paper, you posed for the cameras, while we took you to town in the trade war. Also, the ceasefire in question is not a peace agreement, it's a ceasefire. It only outlines initial steps to de-escalate the conflict. Both parties have actually explicitly refused to call it a peace agreement and rather refer to it as a pathway to peace, as peace and stability do not miraculously just arrive with an initial framework resolution, as Netanyahu's continued bombing of Gaza shows. The moment was so amazing because Trump clearly expected a medal and instead got corrected by the propaganda king of Asia. And that correction couldn't have come at a worse time for Trump because lately he's been on a world tour of supposed peace deals. He's been bragging about ending wars that never happened, were resolved by other parties, haven't been resolved at all, or the Trump administration played a marginal role in. Also, Trump has no idea where these countries are. He has no idea what culture they are, what religion they are, where they are on a map. He just knows that he wants a Nobel Peace Prize, and he better say that he ended as many of them as possible so the Nobel Committee will finally recognize him, a staunch human rights defender and peacemaker. Oh my gosh. Let's roll one of his lovely examples of having no clue what's going on in the world.
So I solved, as you know, 7 wars. 7. I did so many, including Pakistan and India, but big ones. Some were unsolvable. Congo and Rwanda. I solved it. It was going on for 31 years. Millions of people killed. I solved wars that was unsolvable. Azerbaijan and Albania. It was going on for many, many years. I had the prime ministers and presidents in my office. They sat so far apart. One chair was there, one chair was there. I said, "Fellas, get together, come on." He said, "I've been fighting." The one said, both great guys, they said, "I've been fighting for 22 years. I've been killing his people for 22 years. He's been in there for 22 years. The other one's in there for 7 years. He said, "For 7 years, I've been killing their people." I say, let's hug and make up.
So Albania and Azerbaijan, take a look at this map. They're not even on the same part of the planet. Albania is in Europe in the Balkans. Azerbaijan is in the Caucasus. In Asia, it's a completely different continent. They're separated by Turkey, the Black Sea, and enough countries to fill a season of The Amazing Race. So what he meant was Armenia and Azerbaijan, which border one another and have been fighting for years over the Nagorno-Karabakh region, a phrase which Trump would likely butcher as badly as he did the word acetaminophen. Now here's real footage of Trump pronouncing acetaminophen.
First, effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of well, let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen.
So why don't you join the thousands of happy people and get a great big bottle of Mitamidamidjamin? Remember that name. Mitamidamac.
But of course, Lucy is actually endearing, and Trump just makes us all want to vomit all over ourselves. It, again, in that situation, was not a peace deal, but an initial political framework. What's necessary for peace to occur are actual peace-building efforts, people on the ground that are working with organizations, that are helping people adjust to a post-conflict society, that are doing what's called DDR, which is disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration of fighting forces to be able to reintegrate back into society. Well, guess who specialized in peace-building within the United States government? USAID. That's right, the agency that was illegally and completely eliminated. And at the State Department, another bureau, the Bureau of Conflict and Stabilization Operations, was also completely cut, even though the words stabilize conflict is in their title. Two countries do not just become at peace because Trump says so. Two armies do not just put down their arms because Trump says, hey, stop it, you're making me look bad. He doesn't understand what's involved in actual peace building within a country, and he fired all of the people that actually know how to do it. The Thailand-Cambodia conflict was destructive and did displace hundreds of thousands of people, but it was by no means a war. The heavy fighting lasted 5 days in comparison to the Ukraine conflict, which has been going on now for years. But in Trump's retelling, it becomes a full-blown Southeast Asian epic that he personally resolved right from the golf course in Scotland. Yeah, this is not a joke. He actually said on the golf course in Scotland, I was at Turnberry in Scotland when I did this. Turnberry's a great place. It's a great place. Great place. But I said, this is much more important than playing golf. This is much more fun for me. He sacrificed the back nine to make a couple calls to help solve a conflict. What a stand-up guy. I will give Trump a little bit of credit. The role that he did play is threatening both countries that he would not negotiate a trade and tariff deal with them until the fighting stopped. But he by no means was the mediator. He applied economic pressure and essentially blackmail, which are the only things that he knows how to leverage. Another great moment in Asia was Trump's arrival at the celebration of the end of the hostilities. Yes, as usual, that's Trump's YMCA dance. At a summit. Because nothing says end of hostilities like a elderly 79-year-old man with dementia doing the boogie to the village people yet again. Somewhere the Nobel Committee is watching that and thinking, well, Gandhi fasted for peace and Trump did the YMCA. He's claimed credit for everything short of the moon landing. His administration did play a central role in the release of the hostages in Israel and a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. But there was also a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas back before he was president, which only lasted for 2 months before conflict ensued again. And that's exactly what we're seeing again with Netanyahu bombing Gaza as we speak. He's also bragged about ending wars between Ethiopia and Egypt and Serbia and Kosovo. And though there have been tensions in both cases and still are, war hasn't existed between Serbia and Kosovo since 1999, when, under Bill Clinton, NATO bombed the Serbs' version of the Department of Defense to combat their aggression in Kosovo. At the UN General Assembly, between complaining that the teleprompter didn't work, talking about what great shape he was in, thank God me and Melania were both in great shape, thank God we're in great shape, complaining that the escalator stopped, and that's why they are in great shape, he scolded the United Nations. The audacity of this man never ceases to astonish me. He scolded the United Nations to their face for not helping him in these supposed peace deals. This is after he pulled the United States out of UNESCO, the WHO, and the Human Rights Council, defunded $1 billion of U.S. contributions to the United Nations, and also illegally dismantled the U.S. Agency for International Development. That's like burning down someone's house and then complaining that they didn't bring snacks to the fire. So when he says they didn't help me end the wars, that's because you fired or defunded the people who actually build peace, Don. You replaced them with Jared Kushner, black jacket model. Meanwhile, the actual Nobel Peace Prize this year went to Venezuelan activist Maria Corina Machado. Now, Maria Corina Machado ran in the primaries against Maduro. Maduro saw that she won with overwhelming numbers and said that she couldn't run again in the next election. He said that she had to be replaced with someone he would accept, and they replaced her with Edmundo Gonzalez, a retired Foreign Service officer that kind of seemed like everybody's grandpa. But everybody knew that the driving force behind him was Maria Corina Machado. Now, she stands for everything that Trump doesn't. She stands for human rights. She stands for healthcare. She stands for education. She stands for reuniting families, not tearing them apart. She stands for peace. She stands for international cooperation. I could go on and on. She is literally nothing like Trump. And Trump was, of course, pissed because a woman with integrity got something that he thought was his birthright. If only the election had gone that way. Gosh, we would be so much better off. Making things a little bit weird, Machado thanked Trump for his support, and a couple people have asked me, what's your hot take on that? Well, my hot take is that wasn't real admiration. That was a strategy on behalf of Maria Corina Machado because she wants his help overthrowing Nicolas Maduro, and she knows exactly how to get it. You stroke his ego, you say his name on an international stage, and you let him believe he's the hero of Venezuela's revolution, and the Trump administration will come in and do anything, like they're doing now, illegally bombing Venezuelan ships. This isn't diplomacy, it's survival theater. Because when you're up against one autocrat, sometimes you have to flirt with another one. So here we are in a world still racked by real and devastating wars. Ukraine and Sudan come to mind as Sudan totally falls apart and Russia continues to bombard Ukraine. And Trump is out here doing photo ops and declaring victory for a non-lasting ceasefire reached over a 5-day border dispute. It's delusion as foreign policy. It's fact versus fiction. This is where Trump and Xi are actually one and the same, as they don't believe in facts. They only peddle their own version of the truth, and then they call it fact, but in reality, it's fiction. It's delusion as foreign policy. If the Nobel Committee ever did give him a prize, it wouldn't be for peace, it would be for fiction. Because while Thailand and Cambodia are trying to rebuild, Venezuelans are fighting for democracy, and the UN keeps doing the unglamorous work of actual diplomacy, and public servants are furloughed, wondering when they're going to get a paycheck, when they're going to go back to work, when they're going to be able to feed their families. SNAP benefits are running out, and people are not going to be able to eat. Donald Trump is out there dancing to the YMCA, wearing a gold crown, thinking that he just saved the world. And if that doesn't capture our geopolitical moment, I really don't know what does.